All steps for man. Science for mankind.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It is the UnFuckIt Eurasian edition. It is April 14th. We're halfway through April. Again, I'm going to say I have no idea how we got here. If you haven't noticed, the world is completely gone fucking insane this week. I was going to start with the Conspicuous News update to kind of run through some of the insanity that is just, and well, I couldn't get it all together, so I don't have all my links pulled up. So I'm just going to run through some of the real basic pieces, that we had this week. So, as everyone knows, Julian Assange was arrested by like 20 police officers. Had to carry him out, seemingly carrying a magazine or a book. And it looks very staged. Him and his real full beard. I'm not entirely convinced that it was Assange, personally. I'm just going to say. The same day that happened, we had the IMF give Ecuador a $4.5 billion loan. The same day that happened was also the day that Facebook took down the previous president of Ecuador, who was the guy who granted Assange asylum and naturalized citizenship, took down his Facebook account and wiped it out. The same day that happened, Theresa May announced that BREXIT has now been put off until October 31st. The same day that happened, another law was passed, and I don't have it pulled up, unfortunately. There was another really sketchy law passed in UK Parliament, the kind of thing that was like everyone was so distracted with everything else, they didn't see that one slip in. In the same week, we've had Canada government announcing that they're going to put forward a law to allow them to censor social media. And of course, the excuse is the upcoming elections. The elections are coming, so they don't want the Russians coming in and influencing their elections. But Canada is putting laws forward to allow them to censor any social media account. UK has put forward a law to do the exact same thing, to censor any social media accounts. Let's see, what else happened this week? The ruler of Algeria, who has been in power for 30 years, there was a full-on military coup. There was a public uprising, and the military came in and have arrested him, and he's been ousted from power. That happened this week. Venezuela is now without power again. Again, they have no electricity. They've been attacked. Again, their grid has been attacked and brought down again by the U.S. We all know. Let's call it what it is. Cryptocurrencies started to rebound back up again all of a sudden. Just so happened to happen after the April 1st, i.e. the new quarter, all of a sudden. Let's see, what else happened this week? We've had, this week has been so epically insane that you just shake your head. You just shake your head. And the timing is such, like I said, that I honestly feel that the whole Assange arrest was very specifically timed to keep people distracted. Because when he was arrested, there was the big data dump. And a whole pile, 82 gigabytes worth of files was dumped on the internet. Where all the independent journalists, the truthers, etc., what are they all doing right now? They're all on their computer going through these files with a fine-tooth comb. Going through. Now, I have them. I'm trying to not look at them because I'm really, really busy right now and I don't want to be distracted. So I'm really trying to not look at them. But Anne Callahan brought up, she opened up one file and it was, what was it, Anne? The Homeopathic Association?
Yeah, it was simply a list of members of the UK Society of Homeopaths. Now, that information is freely available all over the net. I've no idea why it would be in a listing like that, absolutely none. And I opened another thing about, US Army clothing. And there was a list of prices for bits of kit, and I wonder how much of what's in there is actually worth looking at.
Relevant. Is there exactly how much did they put a whole pile of like fucking documents and stuff that no one cares about because it's a list of homeopathic. Do you know what I'm saying? Like publicly available information anywhere. Did they pad out this file with all this kind of nonsensical stuff so that people could look and go, ooh, 82 gigabytes of data. It's huge. Meanwhile, there's maybe only 1 gigabyte of anything that's useful.
It makes you wonder if they had control of it already before they did the whole taking of Assange in the data dump.
Well, no. See, here's the thing. I have a lot of questions about Assange, and anyone who's done any real research about Assange, there are some serious questions. There are serious questions of who he is and who controls him. And this is the thing. And I made a comment. Someone posted it, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, a month ago. Assange again was all about, I'm going to release the Hillary files. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And I'm like, just fucking get on with it. You've been saying this for 2 fucking years. For 2 years, the threat from WikiLeaks and Julian Assange is he's going to release all these files on Hillary Clinton, and that's it. Like, she'll be done. 2 years. It keeps coming up. And then, like, even to the point of, like, there have been several where he's going to be speaking to the press. There's a major announcement today, and I've tuned in on a couple of them and gone, he talks about bullshit, like crap, and you're just...
Yeah, that's like with Trudeau suing the leader for the opposition, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna take him to court." Well, Trudeau hasn't like announced the date yet for the freaking, and it's like, in the opposition, like, come on, we're ready,
Go ahead. You're gonna do it, just do it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and this is my whole thing. If my own personal opinion, just my own personal opinion. If there really was, let me rephrase that. If this whole arrest of Julian Assange played out as they're portraying it to have played out, and his security data dump, i.e. he's arrested, boom, here's all the files that immediately fall into the public domain, where are the real files? If this was really the way it was portrayed to be, where's the Hillary file? Release the Hillary file. Like, if you're really under the gun and you're being arrested, drop the Hillary file that you've been threatening to drop for 2 years and still haven't fucking dropped. Drop the file that's on the Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, that he's supposed to have all this fucking dirt on. Fucking drop it. This is my whole thing about, and I've said this for years now, about Julian Assange. If you really go back and look at his data dumps, a good portion of his data dumps come after someone else has already leaked it. After someone else has already gone, like Benghazi is a prime one. After a shit ton of independent journalists went through and released a whole pile of information about Benghazi that they dug up themselves. Then WikiLeaks comes forward and goes, oh yeah, we got some Benghazi stuff. Oh look. And then who gets all the glory for it? It's like, it's Assange. Oh, no, he didn't. It came afterwards. I.e., the pattern I have seen, for the most part, not 100%, but for the most part, is information gets out into the public, then Assange releases the information. As in, it's already gotten out to the public, so they have no reason to hide it anymore. They might as well release the data dump because it keeps him relevant. It was the same thing with Snowden. Snowden ran by the same MO. That a lot of the shit that he brought, he had an initial dump that comes out. He didn't tell us anything we didn't know. We all knew it. Yeah, okay, he brought some proof to the table. But he did not tell us anything that we, as independent investigators, didn't already know. But these guys have now got these really big names as being these whistleblowers, and I'm sorry, and this timing, this thing with Assange this week, to me is like the nail in the coffin for me. That this is something going on that is just, they needed a major distraction this week. How do you distract all the independent journalists, all the truthers? You drop this file on them. You arrest Assange. And then everyone has spent days analyzing every frame of the video footage of his, and analyzing what book he was carrying, and analyzing. Meanwhile, like I said, all this other shit's going on and no one's talking about it.
I always thought there would be more from Snowden, and it wasn't really much after his initial big day. That there was a thing here and there, but nothing like sustainable. You know what I mean? Like as for information wise.
Well, and this is what I'm saying. Both of these guys, and like I said, I'm just giving my own personal opinion. My gut, during years of following all this shit play out, both of these guys have not really released very, very much information that we didn't know already. Maybe they brought forward a document or two to kind of solidify the proof, if you will. But they're always kind of seemingly behind. And now with Snowden, there was a couple of interesting things that happened in 2014, 2015. He would come out and say things that were way off topic for him. Talk about aliens. And it's that same template that I've talked about before that they use all the time. Oh, look, it's 11/11. Where the quintessential they, will put out a piece and they put it out and then they watch how everyone reacts to it. And they watch the reaction and then they pull it back. And then 6 months later, a year later, then maybe they put it out again, the same piece, but just slightly different, worded slightly different. And then they watch the reaction and they judge from the reactions on social media, etc. And I've watched Edward Snowden do this exact same thing. We put out a little piece about like ETs. 2014, I think it was. And it was completely offside. It was completely nothing like his usual type stuff. But he put out this piece. And then he never spoke it. Like, it was like, he might as well have never said it. It just, no one talked about it again. And then about a year and a half later, he put out just another little piece of, here, just taste that and then tell me if you're ready for this. And it's the same template. It's the same template we've watched all these guys use, and whether it's the mainstream media, whether it's the politicians, whether it's the big corporations. Put it out, watch, gather the information of how everyone reacts to this piece of information. How do we need to twist it? How do we need to spin doctor it a little bit? Pull it back, wait a little while, and then put it back out again. Okay, so Fred just said, Snowden brought a major point that, to my surprise, made no big waves, and it should have, the kill switch that the US has installed on all the friendly countries, which is probably exactly what they're using on Venezuela now. Exactly. But the same thing is, but that piece has been hypothesized for years. So when he said this, those of us who've been doing this were like, yeah, of course they do. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. Mercedes just asked, do you feel that Assange could be controlled opposition? I'm not going to go so far as to say that. I will say that I have a huge amount of questions. And when the template keeps playing out over and over, and we see events like this latest arrest, I don't believe in coincidence. Now, what was this, like this huge full beard and this straggly hair? You can only see him from the eyes up. And there's quite a few people are saying, was that even Assange who was arrested? Or was that some double? And maybe, like he has a different jawline than Julian Assange, and they knew they couldn't hide it, so they just had the guy grow a big bushy beard. That's the kind of shit they do all the time, right?
Yep. And under the context, it just looks like he was extracted from the situation rather than arrested. Yes, he was wearing handcuffs. Yes, he was carrying this Gore Vidal book about national security. And but yeah, the timing of it's just really bizarre. You have to question it. Why now?
Yep. And considering the week, like I said, sorry, that's the other pieces I didn't throw into this mix. The same day of Assange's arrest, yep, in that 2-day period, you had Israeli elections. And the morning of the Israeli elections, so I'm on this side of the world. I'm on, European time. First thing in the morning, when I went to bed late at night, the night of the elections, they were still saying they can't call it. It's too close a race. I woke up in the morning and the Jerusalem Post announced that the opposition leader had won. I went out for the day. I went and did a whole pile of shit. I came back, and all of a sudden, all the news is covered with Netanyahu going, "Oh, Netanyahu has won his 5th term or whatever." Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, no, wait, what the fuck happened? Because they announced this morning, and like I said, not alternative media, not CNN. No, the Jerusalem Post announced that the opposition leader had won. The same day, or the very next day, Israel sent a rocket to the moon. And it crashed. And they got a picture. Only one picture. They got off the crash. Okay, seriously, does anyone actually believe this fucking shit? Israel sends a rocket to the fucking moon? What? Give me a fucking break.
With the sign, "Small country, big dreams."
Yeah. Give me a fucking break. Talk about a photo op. Give me a break. And there was also the Turkish elections.
It was like God saying, "Oh, sorry, not gonna have you guys do that just yet. No."
Listen, there was also the Turkish elections. And all the mayoral level people who won, who were part of the Kurdish party, Erdogan has now said he's not going to let them take their posts, even though they won for their districts. Anyone who was with the Kurdistan party, the Kurdish party, he's just basically dictatorship gone and said, yeah, no, we're not going to let you take your posts. No, you can't. Even though you won in a democratic election, you can't have your post. So this is another 2 pieces that took place this week, all within a 2-3 day window.
And on the same day, Australia's announced their election on May 18th.
That's right. See, I was sitting there, Jules, I should have said something to you because I was like, there was something in Australia too. It's a big announcement that came out of Australia as well. Do you think they'll be able to actually get the ballots counted before 2 weeks this time?
The timing is really bizarre. I mean, if you've got to host an election across Australia and have all the halls and everything booked, like the timing of, I think it was Thursday, it's just really bizarre. And you've got politicians pulling out, retiring so they can have their superannuation and their, pensions, politician pensions. Yeah. It's
all in 1 week. Not even in 1 week. All in 3 days' time. Everything I've talked about all happened within 3 days. This is insanity. Oh, and let's talk about this black hole thing. So, because that was the thing. Now, the first pieces that came out about this picture of the black hole was a few weeks ago. That information came out a few weeks ago. There was a bunch of us who posted it and talked about it and said, oh, this is kind of fucking interesting. Interesting how they used the satellite cameras from all over the world to use the Earth's rotation to take this picture of broad. And then they had, and the interesting part for me was the fact that the amount of data that was in of each of these, all these pictures that were taken in all these different spots around the world to take this image of this black hole, there was so much data that was cheaper to fly the drives to a central point than it was to try and upload it and send it by internet. I'm like, okay, that must be a fuck of a lot of data. So that all came out weeks ago. But what have we seen this week? Black hole memes. Black hole memes, they've gone fucking everywhere, and they're funny as shit. let me tell you, I have howled my ass off. There are some really creative people out there putting these memes together. But isn't the timing interesting? Again, that information is not new. It came out weeks ago. We discussed it in the Unfuckers group weeks ago. But then all of a sudden last week, right smack in that 3-day period again, let's put out a blast of memes about black hole imagery that are funny as all hell. But again, it smacks of distraction. Sorry, guys. I had a nasty cold. I don't believe in coincidence. I do not believe in coincidence.
It feels
We
like,
have. What's that, Earl?
it feels like to me, with all the things that are going on, with all what the governments are doing and all that, all this stuff, they're trying to get ahead of something, but I don't think they'll be able to get ahead of whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's
Well-
like they're trying hard to, you know.
Well, this is it. On top of all the shit we've just discussed, you've also got all the mandatory vaccine stuff. New York passes mandatory vaccine laws. Every man, woman, and child must be vaccinated with the MMR down to 6 months of age. Not only do we know, besides the fact that we all know how bad the MMR vaccine is, even the CDC has, their information says 6 months is too young. You can't inoculate a 6-month-old with the MMR. It goes against every fucking protocol. Yet, they fucking put a law in place and they're going to talk about $1,000 fine if you're not vaccinated. And again, how are they going to know? They're going to walk around saying, show me your papers. Show me your papers. Where's your papers? Show me your vaccine papers. That's also last week.
One question. What are they doing about tourists? Do they have to get vaccinated when they come to New York?
No, they can't.
So,
It would only be people living in New York. But this is crazy. And again, it's all happened last week. This all happened last week. There are no words. Like literally last week, I wanted to put together a news story several times last week to try and outline all of this shit, and I just couldn't because my schedule has been knocked on its ear. But it has been so crazy last week. I have never seen anything like. We have never had any single 1 month that has been as insane as this past 6 days. We haven't. And it's across the board. It's on all these levels. We've got political bullshittery that is just epic. And all these elections that are being announced, Jules, yours isn't the only one. There's been a bunch of other upcoming elections that were announced. We have all this ridiculousness, such as the mandatory vaccine stuff, the Assange stuff. We have the takedowns by governments. We have the Yellow Vest movement, which is still moving ahead just as strong as it has been. Algeria, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people took to the streets and they pulled the government down. The guy who's been in power for 30 years got pulled down and the military went in and had a coup. Not a word. Not a word was said on the mainstream media. Yeah, Marseille elections have been announced in Spain as well. Well, that's going to be fucking interesting given the last elections in Spain and how that went. And I agree, Ron, major shifts. We're seeing this major fucking shift is going on. Now let's just say that if they know there's major shifts going on, then they're going to try and keep people as distracted as possible. Because as each of these shifts happen, they need to have a certain amount of time to spin doctor it. They need a certain amount of time to try and to get their agendas in place, to try and spin the storyline into something that was swallowable by the public. So in the meantime, they'll have everyone laughing at black hole memes and ranting about Julian Assange. And yeah, European Parliament elections is coming up soon. Elections in South Africa, which has been insane. Charney, like literally, I watched some of the videos of the riots, and yeah, we know that what happens. We know that you get your Soros types who go in and pay people to do the riots to cause all this mayhem.
I found it funny when you talked about them holding off the Brexit thing till October 31st. I'm like, oh, that's kind of scary.
Yeah. Happy Halloween in
Yeah.
England. This is... Yeah, exactly. Okay, in the Sudan as well. They've just toppled the president of the Sudan as well. So this is like, we've got Algeria, we have the Sudan, literally being pulled right down. We've got all this other stuff that's happening. It's fucking crazy. It's seriously fucking crazy. Oh, that was the other thing that happened last week. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Fred. The other thing that happened last week is and I'm gonna get the acronym wrong. I'm sorry, guys. So I'm gonna say the Libyan National Army, i.e., the actual army, not the United Nations installed government in Tripoli, but the original army, if you will, has just marched on Tripoli to overthrow the UN installed government. And US and India, who had forces in Tripoli, peacekeepers, they evacuated all their staff. They evacuated all their staff out, not just out of Tripoli, but out of Libya completely last week. Meanwhile, in Tripoli, they're going in with tanks and just saying they're going to take down this UN-installed government. Take back the country by force. So that's another piece. This is what I'm saying to you. Like, I was just trying to compile the list in my head this morning and going, holy shit, I can't. I'm going to have to keep a notebook on my desk. So as these notes go by, I can just kind of go, April 12th, this. April 13th, this, and this. Okay, so the general elections in Spain are right before May Day, 28th of April. Interesting. Well, and that's just it, Fred. These generals in Libya, the military, the actual real Libyan military, have already retaken about 2/3 of Libya already. Tripoli is one of the last strongholds of the United Nations imposed government. What the fuck? You know, like this is the craziness. I don't know, Ron, good question. What could be the positioning? So we look at it on one hand. We know that there is wildness happening right now. Like, as in energetically, in the woo department, there has been epic fucking insanity. And then we see this stuff playing out in the political, the financial, in the corporate realms as well. What's the cause and what's the fact? What's the chicken, what's the egg? That's the question I have. Bullrush out there on Twitch. Hi, Twitch guys. Bullrush said, I hear when the UN fires their guns, a little flag comes out these days and says bang. I'm not going to say you're wrong. And if anyone can show me some video of that who wants to be creative and make a video of that, I'd be happy to post it. Yeah, so Ron, exactly. On the surface, we know that the whole thing about Venezuela is all about taking the assets of the country. We know this. People who've been watching Venezuela, like myself, have been calling this out for years. When Venezuela announced a fully asset-backed cryptocurrency, over a year ago, I put up I created like a little infographic with the comparison to Maduro versus Gaddafi. And I said, here we go. Everyone wait for it. We know that this. Bolton has fucking come out and said the words, literally, where the U.S. is going to go in and take their oil. How can you fucking believe that this has anything to do with democracy? How can anyone be so programmed, so blinded, that they cannot see that it is all about the assets? Right? There's these pieces, and they're becoming extremely transparent. Like like going back, I always talk about transparency. We always talk about, we've said for years, show us the transparency. We want to see the transparency. We've got transparency in fucking spades right now. If anyone could possibly look through their programming, look beyond the mind control bullshit of the media, etc. Everything that you're seeing play out, two governments announcing, Canada and the UK announcing they're going to censor social media. Hello? Freedom of speech much? That's not just against anti-vaxxers or against, you know what I'm saying? This is against every single person in the UK and in Canada should be standing up and saying, whoa, 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 back up a tick. You don't have a right to tell me what I can and cannot say. You don't have the right.
What we're seeing now is government starting to be. It seems like governments are more naked now than ever before. Like they really don't have anything to prop them up, but they're trying to use control and manipulation to prop themselves up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and this is it. Going back to what Ron was saying. We're talking about a chicken and the egg. What is the cause? What is the effect? Where's the chicken? Where's the egg? Are we looking at a situation where, I'm going to use the analogy of the simulation. Use the analogy of that this is a simulation. The matrix is literally breaking apart. And as it breaks apart, you watch these you-who, them, these so-called rulers, controllers, etc., are literally losing their shit. And they're trying everything they can. Like, they're playing any card they can. It's like, is that what we're seeing? Are we seeing the last desperate acts of the losers? Do you know what I mean? Like, you get, what do they always say? The most dangerous thing, the most dangerous thing is a cornered animal. Are they that cornered animal now? And they're doing anything they could possibly come up with, regardless of how completely stupid it is, how completely idiotic and transparent. They're still trying it. Pardon me, because they're that desperate. When you see laws getting passed, like in the UK, I was laughing. I had yesterday afternoon out with friends of mine who were British, and we were joking with some of these, these new laws coming in. Some idiot in UK Parliament, because of course they've got strict gun laws. They've always had strict gun laws, so they don't have gun problems. They have knife problems, right? I'll show you my nail file. They have knife problems in the UK. Everyone just keeps getting stabbed. So some brilliant idiot in Parliament put out a law. They want to make it a law that you can't buy a single knife anymore. You have to buy a set of 6. You can't make this shit up. How ridiculous. What, you can't buy one knife, but you can go and buy 6?
Well, now you can give them to your friends if you want to attack in a group.
Yeah, exactly. You can't, you can go buy, like, it just literally, I said, it's like the state, some senator in the state saying, okay, no more, we're not going to sell 1 bullet anymore. You have to buy a set of 6 bullets. Doesn't even make logical sense. If someone really is going to go and attack someone with a knife, and they can't buy one anymore, do you really think they're going to have a problem with going out and buying 6? Like, there's no logic to this law. It's like this law in New York for the mandatory vaccines, when they're mandating by law that a 6-month-old baby be vaccinated for MMR, which goes against every rule in the book, even their own rules. The CDC has stated 6 months, too young, never this right? But they've passed a law that's that desperate, that stupid, that they're including this in the law. It doesn't even make sense. Again, it's irrational. It is completely irrational. And that's why I have these questions. Like, when we see this kind of stuff happening, you just say, it's an act of desperation, it feels like to me. Complete and utter desperation. So what is it that they see coming? What do they see coming? What do they know? And I keep talking about this. Like, what do they know that they're not telling us? That's not just on we're talking about the geomagnetically, geologically, politically, financially, all of these things.
What about that lightning that was inverted and upside down? Like
The ground lightning.
Yeah. No, it was like upside down. Like it wasn't. It was shooting up.
Yeah, it's ground lightning, hon.
Yeah.
This is what I've been talking about. This is what I've been talking about talking about people. That we have these massive amounts of ground lightning happening right now. And the article that posted it, and was one of the mainstream weather articles that posted all the pictures of the guy who got all the images, the video images of the ground lightning. And ground lightning is very rare. It only happens in 1% of lightning strikes. And yet, we have massive ground lightning strikes. 2015 killed the people in the park in Germany and the park in France. When lightning came out of the ground, all of a sudden there wasn't even a cloud in the fucking sky, and it happened. And we have all of these. So there are all these pieces. No matter which direction you turn your head in, it is as if the matrix is literally crumbling. Yeah, Anne, I agree with you. Anne just said, I do think mandatory vaccination of adult population should be the thing to wake people up. That's it, because if anyone who was fully vaccinated, they know. Your doctor told you. When you got your last shot when you were like, what, 16, I think is the last shot you get for the MMR in the States and Canada. Oh yeah, this is the last one you'll need. Oh yeah, this is the last one you'll need. And it hasn't been. It's been continuously going up. Like this, across the board. Oh yeah, Thomas, exactly. That was the other one. The military exercises in England. That's taking place this week as well, wasn't it? I believe 13,000 foreign troops on UK soil. What? And you think that wasn't prepared in advance? To make sure there wasn't, that they had foreign troops on UK soil to control the population if they decided to go into uprising over Brexit? Or they arrested Julian Assange? However you want to look at it. Again, I do not believe in coincidence. Do not believe in coincidence whatsoever. I'm catching up here on the chat. And I don't have the Twitch chat open, guys. I'm really, really sorry. My computer's being a little this morning, kind of. Yeah, I don't know, guys. All I know is it is just complete epic insanity everywhere you turn. Jules, did you drop off? Because your video disappeared, but I didn't know if you just turned off your video. Oh, man. My throat is an epic disaster, guys. I'm starting to lose my voice.
I was going to say real quick, yeah, Jules stepped away for coffee. She said she was turning her camera off until she got back. That's what she said in the chat.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyone else want to throw any more lighter fluid onto this fire of everything that we're talking about this morning? Have I missed anything? Because, holy shit. Oh, it has been an epically strange week. It's been an epically strange week, and a lot of people have talked about it now. My earlier part of the week, I had everyone here visiting me, so I was very, very distracted. A lot distracted. And we had some strange incidences and things, some woozy moments. Yeah, you're the distractors, Anne and Gail. Yes, you're the distractors, but you're a healthy distraction. Exactly, Thomas. Exactly. It was a good distraction. It was a fun distraction having you guys here. Oh, sorry, guys. Try not to sniffle. I'm really, really trying not to sniffle on everyone. Yeah, Ron just asked if anyone's having IT and computer problems. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Silly IT problems, too. Like just things where programs weren't loading up quite right, and trying to turn on. At one point, I was trying to turn on my tablet, and usually you grab it, you press the button, you hold it, and I'd throw it on my bed to let it boot up while I was getting ready for bed to read. And it had to do it 3 times. It just wasn't going right. And again, I'm having PayPal issues again this week with different things. And I'm like, oh, fucking PayPal. Oh, yes, PayPal. Yeah, Fred, I know Fred's computer's been completely out of whack, too. No. Oh, guys, I do not know. We're seeing everything shift. We're seeing everything completely shift. But I at this point, I can't even call what the hell's going to happen next. You just can't. It's been that crazy. Yeah, Jules, it has just been a weird week. And like I said, I was just personally distracted for a good portion of the earlier part of the week. But yeah, it has been. It's been a really, really weird week. Synchronicities, lots of synchronicities for me. On Tuesday, when Anne and Gail were here, we went out into the main town to just go get coffee and some lunch. And I was thinking of a friend of mine. Thinking of a good friend of mine who lives here in Gozo, and I was like, oh, I should call her up and see if she wants to come meet us. And I couldn't find her number, and then you're busy, and everything else happened. We sat down at a cafe outside and hadn't even been sitting there 5-10 minutes, and my girlfriend walked by. And I called her over and I said, hey, you're psychic again. I was trying to get a hold of you last night. And then 2 days later, I was thinking about it again, thinking, oh, I got to get a hold of Julie, so we'll go and have the coffee somewhere. We need to catch up. Driving into town, literally driving by one of the roads that we drive on, and there she was walking up the road. So those kind of synchronicities kind of playing out continuously. Anyone else having those kind of weeks?
Yesterday, I'm on YouTube and I find this old interview of Larry King and Shirley Temple Black. Yes, which was like, it's very weird and very strange to watch something old that you've never seen before that felt kind of uncanny valley kind of weirdness feeling about watching it. I don't know. It seemed like someone else should have been there
Huh.
doing that interview. And last night, I'm chatting with other people on this live stream on YouTube. And one of my friends I know, she says, "Earl, your name has changed on here. It's not showing the capital letter at the beginning of your name." I'm like, I didn't even touch it. I didn't change it. I didn't do anything. It just changed on its own.
Yeah, like my appearing trees 2 weeks ago. Trees just randomly appearing in the skyline. Very interesting. Well, I had something, and I posted it out. I don't know how many of you actually saw it, because Facebook is such an epic fucking disaster. Because we're talking about synchronicities. During the time when Gail and Anne were here, we had lots and lots, you can imagine, tons and tons of conversations, and there's stuff, new stuff and old stuff, etc. And you know what it's like when you sit with a group of friends and you start chatting, you go through tons of different topics that you touch on, and you bring up things that, oh yeah, and I saw something about this. So there were several topics that were like older topics that we discussed. And then during conversations I had with several other people over the last few weeks, there were certain topics that just kind of kept pinging, and they just kept coming up. One of them was about the ITNJ. And someone had posted something on PocketNet and asked, like, opinions please. So I went and I was in the comment, and I was talking about my personal opinion on ITNJ and Sasha Stone. So he said, oh, do you have some more information? I said, yeah, give me a few minutes. I'll go find the original stuff that I put out in 2015, and I'll send you the links. So I started looking through all the stuff. Now, what was interesting was, oh yeah, and Gail, remind me, because I want to talk about that as well. What was interesting was that you have your memory of how things played out. So a specific event, it's a major event. So for me, the whole thing with the ITNJ and Sasha Stone, that was a pretty fucking major event for me to go through and work through, because Sasha was a friend. And when I went looking for the articles, so you follow a timeline, you think, okay, well, if this article came out on this day, the next one should have been like a week or two after that. And it wasn't. It was like a few days before. And I was like, that's really strange. So I have an article that I put out, and I put the link in the UnFuckers group for it. And it is a data dump. And it was all the conversations that happened in the Skype groups, all the conversation, and I cut and paste. It's massively long. And it talked about 2015, June 2015. So it talked with the ITNJ stuff and the Magna Carta stuff. Okay? But it also got into all the Shemitah year, the Grand Shemitah year. It also got into the Noahide laws. It also got into, right after that was when the, oh my God, the ICC, well, all the country codes changed. That was June 30th. A whole pile of the country codes were changed. I think, am I using the right acronym? The ICC? I'll have to pull up that link as well. So in a 2-week period in June 2015, there was this massive amount of shit. It got into the blood moons. It got into all of this stuff. And I looked at this because each of these pieces, we've been talking about the blood moons for the last few weeks. Again, going, oh my God, another fucking blood moon's coming up, blah, blah, blah. The ITNJ stuff has become relevant again because after what I perceive as a couple of years of pretty much almost silence out of Sasha Stone, all of a sudden, he's doing a big things on 5G. He's doing all this stuff. There's all this ITNJ stuff coming up. And it's yes, Fred, it feels like it's all being thrown at us again. Now, the interesting thing that what made me think about it, and I will have to go back and I'll pull up the link so it can go with this archive article, this video. It put me back in the mindset of 2015 again, because 2015 keeps coming up over and over and over and over. That's when all the flat earth stuff exploded. That's when all the Mandela effect stuff exploded. And at the end of August 2015, Lisa and I did a show, and we were talking about the Grand Shamatha stuff, etc. And we talked about the fact of, what if the prison doors have just been opened? The problem is you have to be able to walk out of the prison, right? And I sat there and looked at it last week and was like, because Ann and I, in a conversation completely disconnected from this last week, we're talking about them trying to reset the cycle. Like, it feels like, are they trying to reset a cycle? And I sat there and was like, are they trying to close the prison doors? Have we been in this kind of a loop type thing? This repeating cycle for the last couple of years, and now they're trying to tie it back down again. I don't know, but again, there was this feeling of all this information was coming back up for a reason. So I'm going to go take a look at the information. The data dump is massive. There's so much information in there. Take a look at it. And it'll be the link to my old blog site, which is removingtheshackles.blogspot.com. Go take a look at June 2015. Because June 2015, I was going through and scrolling through some of the posts, and it kind of reminding yourself as these pieces were all played out within that 1 month. It's really, really fucking interesting shit. And I'm wondering, yeah, the International Tribunal for National Justice, itnj.org. That's Sasha Stone's site. New Earth. Going back to the weekend. Anne and Gail, do you guys want to tell the story of your little time blockouts that happened? Because that's fucking funny.
Gail, you go first.
I was just going to say, you say it. So we had to pick Anne up from the airport. She was landing at 7:45 in the evening. And the last to travel, by the time she got out of the airport and we'd got to the car and driven to the ferry port, we would have missed the 9 o'clock ferry. And there wasn't another one till 10, and then the next one after that was 11:45. And then it would have been, we wouldn't have got to Danny's until the end of Fringe. So it would have been getting on for 12 o'clock. So we picked Anne up and we kind of like, we faffed around, we got some food and we wandered back to the car. And we thought, we're not going to break our neck to get to the ferry because it's not going to happen. So we pootled. And Nemo just drove at a really sensible speed. Well, we got to the ferry port, the ferry was in, and literally we waited 5 minutes and just drove onto the ferry, and it wasn't even the time of the ferry. It was about, I don't know, it was about 9:30, wasn't it? But everything went really smoothly. But we got onto the ferry, we sat down in the cafe and the shop was closed, and the shop doesn't open until the ferry takes off. So we sat in front of it because tobacco, refills needed to be got, tobacco and cigars and stuff. And we sat in front of it and we were talking, and we were sat for maybe, the ferry journey takes 25 minutes. And we were sat chatting for what was maybe 5 minutes about various things. And all of a sudden, Nemo gets up and says, "Oh, we're here now. We're just pulling in." And I looked at him and thought, nah, don't be silly. He's winding us up. And Anne laughed and went, yeah, April Fools. We're not even left yet because like the ferry hadn't moved. And it was, I just saw everybody getting up and I could see the lights to the side as we were pulling in. And I was thinking, we have actually, we have been moving. We have been sat here for 5 minutes, feeling the ferry moving. And it was just that unbelievable, literally, we have just been here 5 minutes. We couldn't, yeah. Anne was the one who needed convincing. It wasn't April Fool.
Yeah, Anne was completely apparently convinced that they were all trying to tease her and trick her into thinking that they'd left.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to get off the ferry. But that was surreal. I have never felt anything like that quite before. It was extraordinary.
We were just looking at that stunned look at each other all the time, because I knew that I could see that people were getting up and going back to their cars, but I was in the same mindset as Anne, but Anne was totally convinced that we were taking the piss. Yeah, I wasn't in on it, but it was quite bizarre.
Yeah, and we had a few more, like during the couple of days, we had a couple of moments where just like things just got really time stretched or time just disappeared, like just completely dissolved.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think when.
I know, because we talked about it at the time. We're like, wait a second, we just did it again.
And I've completely forgotten what they were.
So have I.
Well, that's the other thing we were talking about is our memories. Sorry about the noise in the background. Yeah, sorry, the printer's gone belly up. It's like our memories, I can't even form a sentence at this point. And this happened, it's increasing, this inability to access memory in the way that we used to, or to use our brains in the way that we used to. There's a feeling that those whatever way we used to operate and use our brains is less and less available to us, and something else is coming in. It's like, at least I hope it's coming in, because otherwise I'm just going to be, in a vegetative state, I think. But yeah, this maybe a whole body way of accessing stuff that isn't linear. Like that child said to me way back, the child who wouldn't speak, she said to her mother, "Maman, I will not speak because speech is too linear." And I just thought, when you telepath, a bundle of information is sent. It's not a linear thing. It's a bundle.
Entire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm just wondering if that's part of what's happening, that we're moving out of linearity. Speech ties us into time also, because speech takes time, as we speak in a linear way. So perhaps that's part of what's happening to us.
Because we had and we howled laughing. I mean, you guys heard us howling laughing. It was like that the entire time. But we howled laughing because I can't tell you how many times we're all sitting around chatting. And I'm not talking about conversations. You know what I mean? I'm talking about just chatting. As you do with your friends, just chatting about this and all of a sudden you'll be halfway through a sentence and go, what was I saying?
Yeah, but it's worse when there's 3 of you sat around and none of us can remember what the bloody hell we were talking about.
Remember what you were saying? You were like, what were we just talking about?
I was chatting on Discord with friends, and it felt like 5 minutes, and yet it was a whole freaking hour that went by. I'm like, wait, what? No, that can't be possible. And they're talking, I'll be taking my 8 o'clock pill, and it'll seem like a few minutes go by, and it's already almost 9 o'clock. I'm like, wait, what?
Yep. No, this is the thing. Hold on.
Danny's hitting the bottle.
I know. We were joking about that on the PocketNet call last night. This is my water. It's distilled water. It's not vodka. I promise. I promise. Just water. But I joked because it had a water label on it, and the water label literally looks. If you didn't read the words, it looks like a vodka label. I was like, well, we better peel that one. There's Danny chugging into the vodka bottle. I love if it was me, it would be a gin bottle, but that's neither here nor there. These type of things are happening more and more commonly. We've been talking about it for a couple of years, but they were like something you had really, one person would experience one thing. And there would be several months before they would have anything else that was in the woo-woo category, as we would call it. But this is now like multiple times a day we have these incidences. I was joking with Anna, I was saying, Quinlan, just the week before, I'm sitting here working at my desk. My eldest daughter comes down the hallway, stops, sits on the edge of my counter here, and looks at me and goes, I'm like, hey, so what's up? She's like, I had to ask you something. I've completely forgotten. And I teased with her a little bit, etc. And she went off. 15 minutes later, she comes back out and she goes, oh, I remember. She's coming down the hallway going, I remember what I need to ask you. Chatted for a second. She looks at me and she goes, I've forgotten what I fucking came out to ask you again. Holy shit. And she went away again. Half an hour later, she comes back. She goes, this time I remember. And Kale comes up and intervenes. And you have that momentary distraction. And she was like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I can't remember. I've completely forgotten again what it was I was just going to tell you. And she never did remember. She never, like later on that dinner, I was like, so did you remember what it was you wanted to ask me? She was like, I have no idea. It's completely fucking gone. She goes, it wasn't important. It was like one of those things like, hey, Mom, can we have, whatever for dinner, or something that was very, very unimportant. She never ever got that back. It was just gone. No idea. She's not old like the rest of us. I keep using the dementia as my excuse. Maybe I'm just going demented, losing my mind. She's 16. So she doesn't have that excuse. It was the same thing for example, going back to that stuff, the hot flashes again. And there were people last week, the same thing. I had 2 nights in a row where I was in bed. Sorry. I was in bed last night. At one point, I was sleeping during the night with just my sheet on. That doesn't happen. Like, it's still cold here in the nighttime. It's still quite cold in the house at nighttime. But Mercedes, this is the same thing. We've had this conversation. Everyone immediately jumps and goes, oh, it's hormones. It's, you're close to menopause. You're at that age. But 16-year-olds are having it. 28-year-old men are having it. 7-year-old men are having it. 40-year-old men are having it. Okay, so this is not, we can't just lump it into a category and say, oh, well, it's hormones. Or at least, let me rephrase that. We can't lump it into the category and say, oh, it's specifically menopause type hormones. Because it's not. When you have broad spectrum people having it, you have to throw out those descriptive, those little boxes that we put symptoms in. Oh, you have this symptom, so that's going to put it in that box right there. And that's what it is. Yeah, but Mercedes, yes, 16-year-olds are going through hormonal shift too, but 28-year-old men, 43-year-old men, 70-year-old men, they're not going through hormonal shifts. And that's what I'm saying. We have to stop putting things in a box.
I was feeling hot last night, come to think of it. Like, I had my blank. What are they doing?
It's about to get really loud on my side when they start growling at each other. They're playing.
Yeah, like, I was like, I woke up, I'm like, man, I'm hot. Maybe it's because I have my blankets on, but, it could be what you're talking about. Yeah.
And this is what I'm saying. Like, when you start throwing all of these pieces on the table. Now, we do have to look at things like solar rays. And we have to look at things like geomagnetics and all of these types of things coming in. as perhaps one aspect of it. But for example, the geomagnetics have been perfectly calm for 2 weeks, fluctuating between a 2 and a 3, perfectly calm. So when we were seeing certain things that were happening that coincided with, would you two stop? Seriously, Brute, Rocket, enough. Go wrestle somewhere else. Seriously, no, you can't come on my lap. Oh, Brute, seriously. Oh, sorry, I have a dog trying to climb on me. When we had things that coincided with 0 KP, you go, okay, there's a piece, we'll look at it. Is that a connection that we're making? But now we're having these pieces also playing out, and it's not 0 KP. But we do have an increase. Okay, oh, no. Ah, that's it, you're done. Stop, down. But fucking licked my whole face. Delightful. Pardon me while I wipe off the dog slobber. We don't know. We don't know what these energies are that are coming in. And we don't know how they affect us. And as I keep saying, I don't even think we have... You two! Stop! Seriously. Oy. I don't think we have the measuring sticks. I don't think that we even have the ability to measure, or at least that they're telling us, as the public, to measure what it is that is coming in. And yeah, Ron, the question, could they be altering, enhancing DNA? Absolutely. We know there's a direct effect. There's been enough studies to show that there is direct effects between these cosmic rays and DNA. The question is, what is those effects? Where is it going? And is that what we are seeing, or is it something else entirely? Because all we can do is correlate the data. All we can do is go, okay, look, there's the geomagnetic, here's the X-rays, here's the solar radiation, here's the cosmic ray influx, here's the solar wind speed, here is what's going on in the atmosphere, here is what's going on, It's all we can do is just look at all the pieces, put them on the table, and see if we can somehow form it into a puzzle that we can make a picture out of. And this is okay. So guys, you guys in the chat here, they're talking about thyroid, right? Thyroid is a really interesting one because yes, we've had a lot of people in UnFuckers who are on thyroid medication who've said, "Oh, Groot and Rocket, stop." Seriously, oh, these two dogs are going to drive me mental. We've known people who are having thyroid problems who have had either increases or decreases in thyroid activity that have come on very suddenly. Yes, thyroid also regulates the body temperature too. Mercedes is absolutely right. So is that something? Is that one of the commonalities that we say, okay, maybe what we're seeing is something that's coming in, an energy, etc., that is doing something to the thyroid gland. Okay, and Fred, exactly. DNA is just memory banks, if you will. And I agree. That's exactly it. DNA are memory banks. They keep. Hold on, guys. Sorry, you just have to give me a second. I'm going to have to do something with these dogs. They're getting completely out of hand. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves for a moment. Fred, you can expand on what your thought is.
Yeah, I was trying to unmute desperately with my broken mouse. That was actually one for Anne that I've been trying to put it out and I always forget, and there's always been a lot of more. About the thyroid that Marcy brought up. I was wondering, well, back 2-3 weeks ago or more, when we were talking about, the effects, the KP0 effects, the geomagnetics and all that, and everybody, all of us were having, and not only us, UnFuckers, but also a lot of people that we consider sleepies or whatever you want to call them. People were displaying all these wide array of symptoms, which all of them, thinking about it, were also consistent with hormonal disruption.
Yep.
All the symptoms from the heart fluttering and the heart palpitations to the hot flashes to a whole joint pains were explainable through So what if, on the healing part, on the let's find some little tricks to help, because until we can, rake our brains forever trying to figure out what it is, and we are, I think, to it pretty well. Come on, we're doing a great job. We need a little pat on the backs, don't we? But at least, to help with the symptoms, is what if we're looking at them, we looked at it through the trauma thing, and that's big. There is trauma involved. There's a lot of trauma involved, and PTSD and all of that range. But looking at it through the hormonal system being thrown out of balance, and how to rebalance it to help diminish the symptoms we go through, because some of them are scary. When you get heart palpitations, some of our unfuckers ran to the hospital, and not one, several.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there.
Okay.
That's one thing I was going to say real quick. That's one thing I won't do is go to I get heart palpitations, but just like you guys were just mentioning it. What was it? When she was talking, the thyroid thing, and I wonder. I had sworn, like even 10 years ago, I weighed more than I do. I mean, I'm actually underweight for my height.
Yep, and that's a thyroid. That can be a thyroid thing as well. Well, here's the thing. Ann and I had the conversation. We were talking about, and remember, we talked about the progesterone aspect. We talked about the hormones, for example, the pregnancy hormones. So one of the things that I experienced is when I was pregnant, so your body releases hormones that softens your ligaments and tendons, facilitate childbirth, right? So the woman's hips will spread. When I was pregnant with Quinlan, I had such a reaction. Every tendon and ligament in my body did that. And I got to the point that I couldn't use my hands. For the last 2 weeks of my pregnancy, Nick had to cut my food for me. I couldn't hold a book. That's how loose my tendons were. And we have several times over the last little while, and there's been an uptick, where I'm feeling the bones. I go to reach and do something, and the bones of my hands will roll. And I've talked to Ann about it. The only time I've ever experienced that is when I'm pregnant. And no, I'm not pregnant. So
I'm getting that with my thumb. Like
your thumb.
My thumb. I can't grab anything, and it freaking hurt. No, I have arthritis too, so I'm thinking it might be that. But from what you tell me.
So that brings us back to something that we talked about before, the caterpillar turning into the butterfly.
Yep.
Where the ligaments, tendons and ligaments are softening to facilitate change, the potential to facilitate quite serious change, actually quite extensive change. Is that, that's one thing, possibly.
Yep. Is one of the things that we have to look at. So it's very interesting, of course, that we bring up the thyroid, because again, we're talking hormones. Hormones are one of the least understood aspects of medicine. And doctors will prescribe hormones left, right, and center. But the very fact is, they really do not fully comprehend how hormones work in the body and the fine connections, the fine-tuned mechanisms between all these glands in the body and all these hormones and the balance points and the fluctuations. Which is why I tell everyone, like, if a doctor tries to give you hormones of any kind, fucking run the other direction. Because these guys do not comprehend what they actually do to the body. Now, lots of things can affect your hormones, and especially if we're talking about thyroid, because your thyroid is kind of like one of your master hormone glands. When you talk about the endocrine system, exactly, Thomas, we're talking about a lot of really interesting pieces, and unfortunately, it's where we got to keep putting the pieces on the table. When you look at the endocrine system, we look at things like the hypothalamus. We look at things like the pituitary glands. You look at things like, for example, the pineal gland. Now, one of the other things that we've talked about for the last year, especially, is we've talked about some of that feelings that we get where you're just exhausted and there's almost like this, you're feeling woozy, etc. And I likened it to almost kind of like feeling jet lag. right? You go, if you've ever done long distance traveling where you jump not 1, 2, or 3 time zones, but you jump 10 or 12 time zones, the jet lag that you feel with it is intense because it affects your mental, your emotional, your physical. You get to the point where you start almost feeling like you're hallucinating if you're that bad. And of course, the sets of exhaustion that come over you, you just can't control yourself. When we start talking about the pineal gland, we start talking about melatonin production. We start talking about circadian rhythms. These are all pieces. These are all pieces of the puzzle that we have to put on the table because they all interact with each other. Yeah, Anne said, your energy bodies are pulled off center with jet lag. Okay, and then Marseille, exactly. There's another really good one. That might be due to exhausted adrenaline from the kidney gland. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, the adrenals, right? Adrenal exhaustion is seriously hardcore, right? But these are all pieces that if you look at, we start putting all the symptoms on the table, all of these pieces start to become pretty fucking relevant. And then we got to go back and say, okay, number one, first one is what can we do about it? Now, with the thyroid, I'm a big one. I wish Jenny was here today. She's not, unfortunately, because she's working, is iodine. Is it Lugol's iodine? Is really, and Jenny says, like, this is one of the most important things that she did in her life was to get on the iodine and start replacing a lot of this stuff. That can help significantly with thyroid. When we're talking about things, for example, I saw something, I haven't had a chance to research this yet. It came by as like just a little picture infographic. And I haven't had a chance to research, but my gut said when I read it, oh, that makes so much fucking sense. And what it said was that we could strongly attribute a lot of the skin cancer that's happening now due to sunglasses. And the reason is because we know your eyes take in all this information. Your eyes take in all the visual information, a lot of energetic information that our brain doesn't even register. Our eyes take in light. So you have to comprehend that everything in the eye sees then gets funneled through the rest of the entire body, including the endocrine system. If you put very, very dark sunglasses on and you go out into the sunlight, your eyes are not seeing the light, the bright sunlight. The eyes are then not triggering the body to make certain hormones and certain chemicals like melanin to protect the skin. And I sat there and when I read it, I was like, thud. Holy shit. It makes a fuck of a lot of sense. All of a sudden, in the late 80s, sunglasses were like a major part of your fashion look. Everyone went out everywhere. The 90s, 2000s, everyone has got something. You go out time during the day, everyone's wearing black sunglasses. Now you think about that. There's a logic there. I can't prove it. Like I said, I haven't even had a chance to research it yet. But when I read that, I sat there and was like, no, that actually makes completely perfect sense with everything I know about how our eyes perceive the light and then trigger all the mechanisms within the body. And you talk about circadian rhythms, et cetera, et cetera. It makes sense. It could be another piece of the puzzle that we have to put on the table. The Marseille, I'm the same. Never wore sunglasses. I had a pair of Ray-Bans that I paid a ridiculous amount of money for when I was about 19. And I managed to hang on to them till I was about 23 maybe, before they got, broken, destroyed, lost, whatever. I never wore sunglasses. Never wore sunglasses. Like, I haven't even owned a pair in ages. So like occasionally when you have a really, really bright day, I'll grab a pair of NYX sunglasses and I'll put them on. You know, driving at that time of night where the sun is directly in your eyes and you're trying to see. Until the last year. And suddenly in this last year, I've been saying, I have to get some sunglasses. I have to get some sunglasses because the light is so blindingly bright now. The moment you walk outside, it feels like the moment you are outside, I instantly get the headache here. And I call it squint headache because you're doing this in the sun and literally you start getting headache right across the center of your nose. That's just me. Like I said, that just recently, this has been a new thing for me where the sun. Now, I live in a country. 4 years ago, I lived in Morocco where all the buildings are painted white. And there used to be a joke that we used to go shopping at this one shop. And it required you to walk down a laneway between 2 3-story buildings, all painted white. The ground is white. And if you went down there at 12 noon, you were fucking blind. Because the light shining off the buildings was so bright, it was like being snowblind. Now I live here in Gozo, in Malta, and it's even all the buildings are limestone. So it's again that very, very pale yellow color. And there are times when I've gone up to my roof to hang laundry. And because of the sun beating on all the buildings around me, you're literally... Dogs, quiet. Where the sun is just blinding. By the time I finished hanging the laundry, I'm literally blinded with pain in my head. And yeah, Thomas, that's one of the things that I've looked at. And I've looked at that for years. Thomas just said, Hollywood promoted sunglasses to stop us from receiving information from the sun. And also the sun gets information from the stars of the cosmos. Okay, electric universe. Everything's fucking interconnected. And I've said that. I have suspected that, Thomas, for many years, and I've talked about it. Even back before I was really, truly awake, people would say, oh, do you need sunglasses? I'm like, no, don't like sunglasses. I need to be able to see the sun. I knew there was a connection there. Your gut tells you this covering your eyes all the time is not good for you. So, another piece to put on the table. Because again, when we're talking about light, and we're talking about, again, endocrine type systems, we're talking about the hypothalamus, we're talking about the pineal gland. All of these are all interconnected, right? And sunscreen causes cancer. Exactly. So we're talking about, like let's slather on sunscreen. Well, again, your skin is your receptors, right? Your skin is the largest organ in your body. And everything you put on, so on the one side of it, everything you put on your skin, like sunscreen, like body lotions that are full of artificial perfumes and colors and mineral oils, etc. That is going directly into your skin, which is your secondary endocrine system. Your skin is your secondary endocrine system, and it is delivered all over your body. Okay, but on the flip side of that is, your skin is continuously taking in all the information environmentally. It's taking in all the information from the sun. It's taking in all the information and rebalancing your body to be able to work with itself, to work with its environment, right? So when we're continuously covering it up, slathering on sunscreens, putting on sunglasses, yeah, Jules, we're talking about biorhythms here. This is all vital. And when you if you want to do some interesting research, there's been some really interesting papers in the last 10 years talking about circadian rhythms. It is really, really interesting. Some of the stuff when you start talking about sleep, when you should sleep, when you should be awake, how long you should sleep, etc., etc. Really, back in 2015, when we were in Morocco, we got into heavy discussions on this because there was a lot of pieces that were coming up, and there were 2 studies that had come out that year talking about circadian rhythms. And there was a lot of interesting stuff, and that's why I said I started trying to let myself sleep when I want to sleep and wake when you want to wake. Pardon me. Even with my kids. It's now so like Anne, we were talking about the fact of Quinlan and Kira have been staying up every night until at least 1 o'clock in the morning because they're not tired. They don't want to sleep. They're wide awake. Logan's been like that again too. Logan was up until midnight last night, and he was wide awake. Now I could force them to go to bed. I could force them to go to bed at their bedtimes. Or I can just say, well, that's their system that's telling them. And when it's everyone in the family, I'm going to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning. I did it again last night. I got into bed. I chatted on PocketNet for I don't know how long, and they started getting into a good conversation. I was like, okay, I got to leave now because I do have a show in the morning. And then I sat in bed and read. And because I was reading an actual physical book, I didn't even know the time. But I'm going to say I probably read till 2:30 in the morning. Till I finally felt tired enough to go to sleep. So we need to really be intuitive to ourselves. And if not everyone has a lifestyle, and if you're working full time, it's kind of fucking sucks if we can't get to sleep till 3 o'clock in the morning, but you got to be up at 6 for work. We can only work within what works within our own personal schedules. But this is it. It's about eating. When you eat, when you sleep, and trying to allow your body to tell you what feels natural in the moment, what eating when you feel the need to eat, not because it's breakfast time or lunch time or dinner time. Ron just said, how about your diet and cravings? I barely eat. I'm up and down. And we'll tell you, what was that? Was it February, March? I didn't eat. I wasn't hungry. And I'd go to the cupboard, and even when I was hungry, you'd feel hungry, and you'd go to the fridge and look in the fridge and go, and you go to the cupboard, and you open the cupboard, and you look, and you go, I don't know, I'd rather be hungry. I don't want to eat any of that. I literally would just rather be hungry. And it fluctuates all the time. So I made cake last night. That's what I had after dinner. I had a slice of cake, and sometime around 2 o'clock in the morning last night, I got up and had a slice of cake because I was hungry, and I was just eating before we started here. I was having another slice of cake. But yeah, raw carrots is a big one. Usually we very, very much, especially for summertime here because it's so hot, we eat a lot of raw cut up vegetables at dinners and lunches and stuff. But that's all everyone's wanted to eat for the last 2 months. You're going to make carrots. Mom, can we just have raw carrots? I don't want them cooked. I just want raw carrots. And that's what we've been eating.
I mean, I went to bed around a little bit before 1, and I fell asleep after a little while. It was basically a little while to fall asleep. But anyway, I fell asleep, woke up, looked over my clock, and it was 2:30, and I'm like, okay, might as well get up. Plus I was having hip pain. I've been having pain all over lately.
A lot of people.
You're probably right. Probably it's that thing. But yeah. So I'm like, well, I'll get up, do my business, and I'll just sleep because, there's, what we're doing now. So I'm like, okay, sleep. I should be tired, and I'm not tired. I feel a little bit tired, but not dog tired.
Right now. No, I mean, and this is it, the craving. So, for example, it was the joke, and it's brought up dark chocolate. I've been totally off chocolate for the last 2 weeks, which is a shock coming from me. But it's not that I'm enjoying it. I'm still eating it, but it wasn't that desperate. In February and March, it was give me fucking chocolate or I'm going to start breaking things. Yeah.
Man, you do sound like a pregnant woman right now.
Ha ha ha, smart ass. Yeah, so this is it. These are all these things where when you're feeling your body saying, I don't want to eat this, or I want to eat just bread and butter. Or I went almost an entire week of eating nothing but baked potatoes and butter. Sauerkraut. because that was all I craved. It was like, okay. Yeah, and cacao is a phytocannabinoid. So we have all these different pieces. It all comes into, this is our biggest problem that we have, and it's probably, of course, all deliberate, is that all of these scientists, all of these doctors, etc., are so isolated in their prime focus, they don't look at the bigger picture. They literally, it's not covered in their training. So you may have someone who specializes in hormones, but what do they know about the pineal gland and about melanin in the skin and about sunshine? What do they know about, well, we know doctors know jack shit about nutrition and vitamins and minerals and that kind of thing. So we're continuously putting all these pieces on the table and, like I say, trying to put the pieces together to see if we can find a picture. But in the meantime, basically, as I'm saying to everyone, you just got to follow your gut instinct. Just do the best that you can at the time and just eat what you want to eat, sleep when you need to sleep, if at all possible. Because we don't know what's fucking going on. Yeah, Leonida, hi, good morning, darling. Yeah, and finding new things in the body. Yeah, that's exactly it. And look, we've got a new organ in the body we've just discovered. Okay. Is it new or is it just new in this reality? You know? Anyways, darlings, I'm literally so congested I can barely breathe right now. So I'm going to say that we're going to close down the live stream and say goodbye to everyone. I'll chit chat with everyone here in the chat for a little while longer. I can stop and blow my nose. We have a change. We have a change for this coming Wednesday. We'll let everyone know. We're not having the UnFuckIt discussion on Wednesday night. Instead, we're having a deep immersion. Jeff Gates, Emily Moyer, and myself, we've got some shit to talk about. So it's going to be interesting. It could be a very, very interesting conversation. So it's going to be seriously into the woo-woo, I'm pretty sure. And we're going to be looking at blockchain. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin. We're going to be talking woo-woo-woo. We're going to be talking Andrew DeSantis stuff there, Fred. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. It'll be the usual time. It's going to be the usual time of show for the UnFuckIt discussion, but it will be a deep immersion instead. So, yeah, that's coming up Wednesday night. Should be very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, so I'm going to say good night. No, I'm going to say good afternoon. Yeah, it's afternoon now. Fuck. To the live stream guys out there on Twitch, love you guys. We'll see you guys Wednesday night. And that's it for us for now. Bye, guys.
And one small step for man.